Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast.
And welcome back to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host tonight, Matt High, and I'm joined by Joe Capozzi and Chris Felice again. We're talking all the craziness that has been happening the past couple days with the NFL free agency period opening. Things have happened. So overall, has this been one of the best or one of the worst free agencies for you guys? What do you think, Joe?
I think it's been one of the craziest free agencies that I can remember in a long time. Some of the big names moving to different teams, which is exciting to see. Scary for us that do fantasy, especially dynasty, in terms of our assets are being traded and could become either higher or lower depending on their landing spots. So, but this has been crazy.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. This is definitely some of the moves I question a lot, like a lot currently. But definitely a more bumpy road. I think there's some things I'm really excited for, and there are some things that I definitely kind of like, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's still early, so we can't go too crazy into this. Like last year when David Montgomery signed with the Lions, we were like, oh, great, this is awesome. Then when they went out and drafted a day one running back. So things are going to change. All of these situations in a couple weeks when the NFL draft happens could completely change again. So
True.
it's just kind of a good exercise to look at what we think right now for some of the guys around them that moved and what it means about maybe telling what people are going to start doing in the draft. So we're going to get into some of those rookie prospect review shows again. We did the quarterback one last time, so check that out. Before we get into it, just want to say thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. You follow the show on Twitter or X, YouTube, or everywhere you get your podcast. So please send it out. Like, share, subscribe, leave us a comment. Let us know, what you like, what you don't like, and if you have any questions, we definitely want to start answering some questions. We know everyone has them because we do too. So definitely throw those in there. But let's just go. We got things to talk about. So today, about an hour before we started recording the show, we had a little bit of a bombshell that we've been waiting. We've been waiting for this shoe to drop, and it finally did. I don't know if it dropped into a turd or if it dropped into a nice little landing spot, but let's dive into it. Justin Fields, former Bears quarterback, was traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a 6th round pick in 2024. What are your initial thoughts? Let's start with you, Joe.
As a Fields owner, not thrilled. I was hoping he was going to get a landing spot where he was the uncontested, clear-cut starter, which is not the case in Pittsburgh, where they just also traded for Russell Wilson, which we'll talk about. I have mixed feelings. One, I don't like it because he will. It's tough to say. It's so early. We don't know if he'll be sitting. He'll be the starter. I have a feeling he's going to be sitting behind Russ, which I don't think is necessarily the worst thing for a dynasty perspective in terms of long-term value. But if you're in a 2 QB league and he's one of your 2 QBs, I would be very scared right now because he might be sitting this year or part of the season behind Russ. But I think he has room to grow in the Steelers offense, and I don't think it's the worst landing. I mean, he could have went to like the Patriots or something, which would have been terrible. So it's not the worst spot. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out because him and Russ are both on, I believe, 1-year deals right now. So they're not married to either of them. We have all of training camp to go through. We have preseason. So how do you feel, Chris? How do you feel about the Fields and black and gold?
Yeah. So this is really surprising. Got to be honest with you. When I heard rumors that Justin Fields, like owners, were not seeing him as a potential starter, I was a little surprised. To be quite honest with you, I would like to say I have the trade in front of me. It's a 2025 6th round pick, not 2024, and it can turn into a 4th if he plays 51% of the snaps this season. That is the stipulation on that trade. But as Joe said, there isn't too much binding the Steelers to either of these two people. I imagine in the long run they will stick to Justin Fields is my guess. I feel like this is a very unique situation that the Steelers have that they should definitely take advantage of. They have a veteran quarterback on a very cheap deal that can definitely learn, that can definitely teach in a sense, and Justin Fields can learn from. From a this year's perspective, it sucks. Hopefully for the future, this is like a really, really good deal for the Steelers.
Yeah, we were talking pre-show about this to kind of just get our initial thoughts out. This to me, it's a good move for the Steelers because it's low investment. If it don't work, guess what? Doesn't matter. Here's my pick. Take it. I don't care. We're probably not going to sign the guy that we were going to draft there anyway. So at this point, it's kind of I see it more going the way of Baker Mayfield, where he finishes out the contract on his first team and then maybe starts bouncing around a little bit until he maybe finds his footing, like we saw with Baker. I still think Justin Fields is talented. I think has some more tools than Russ, and I know that could be a hot take, but we've kind of seen Russ outside of the system he was in Seattle, and it just didn't really work. Like we all saw that experience; it wasn't fun to watch. So I do think it's going to be a really easy transition. I could see Russ starting the beginning of the season, the fans saying, "No, get this man out off the field," and Fields comes in, let's see what he's got, and then work from there. But while we're on the topic of the Steelers, there are two other deals involved. So let's just go through those really quick, get the full big picture. Kenny Pickett was traded, the former 2022 first round draft pick, traded to the Eagles to be back up to Jalen Hurts, which I think for him, you get to learn in that system, less pressure. I don't know what else to say. I don't think Pickett's really going to do too much unless Hurts gets injured, and I don't think it's going to really be well. Do good things for him. But that was Pickett at a 24 fourth round pick for third rounder and 225 seventh rounders. So another low investment deal done. And then also Russell Wilson, as we mentioned, is there, signed a 1 year, $1.2 million deal to join the Steelers. And let's not forget, the Broncos are actually paying him the other $38 million. So kudos to the Steelers to stick it to the Broncos. I didn't think it was going to get done, but man, NFL's ruthless. So overall, I think we all agree that Fields will probably end up taking over the job. Do you guys think by training camp or like week 1 is going to be Russ? What percentage would you think?
Do you want to go first, Joe?
Sure. I think Russ will start the season. I have a feeling, and it depends on how he's playing. If he's winning games, I don't see them making a change. If obviously if you're winning a football game, you're not going to change what's working. From a dynasty perspective, of the three, I'd be buying Fields right now. His price is at an all-time low. People are panic selling him, and I would gladly give a second round. I feel like you could get him from a second round pick right now, and I'd be more than happy to pay that. Kenny Pickett, if I had him, I'd be holding him. Um, we've heard about the Jalen Hurts and the coaching uh, controversies in the past. Also, Jalen likes to run the ball, which is always at risk for injury in the NFL. And Kenny Pickett could get his chance in the season if Hurts was to miss some time. So Pickett's a hold for me, and Russell Wilson is a sell for me. I think this is the highest his price is ever going to be. He's 35 years old. He's on a 1 year deal right now, and yeah, if I had Russell Wilson, I'd be selling him right now for getting whatever I can get for future investment, especially for dynasty. Obviously, for maybe for like a redraft, you'd be fine with him as your quarterback. But yeah, for dynasty, I'm selling Russ, holding Pickett, and buying Fields for the low.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
agree.
I think I'm having technical difficulties. I am not here right now. I don't worry, still here. You guys can hear me. I'll give my thoughts really fast while I figure this out. My apologies. I think this is a good chance for Russell Wilson to perhaps solidify a last contract while he's in the league. So I wouldn't say this isn't like, I think he'll start at the beginning of the season. I'm not too worried about that. And then regarding Kenny Pickett, I don't really know how to feel. I don't think there's ever a world where he overtakes Jalen Hurts. And I'm not just saying that as a Jalen Hurts owner. I just think that's the way it is. If he gets hurt, so be it, right? Then in that case, then he has his time to shine. I wouldn't be panic selling him because this is also an opportunity for him to perhaps be traded to another team at some point, or whenever his contract is up, sign somewhere else. He can say that he learned with Jalen Hurts. So he'll probably have opportunities, my guess, and he definitely, through practice and whatnot, will have times to shine. But yeah, I wouldn't panic on Kenny Pickett in the long run, and Russell Wilson will probably solidify something, is my guess.
Yeah, depending on when their bye week is, that's usually when we see teams make a quarterback change. Usually it's with a rookie, but in this case it might not be. So we'll have to kind of see. But let's move on to the next guy here. Kirk Cousins signed a 4-year, $180 million deal with the Falcons. $100 million guaranteed. Now, this is going to be a huge change. Welcome back, Chris. We got him on video.
Thank you. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that.
So,
that was really bad.
Kirk Cousins here goes from Minnesota, who had an excellent wide receiving core, or just receiving core in general, now ends up in the Arthur Smith-less Atlanta Falcons. So obviously, I guess all of us are excited about Drake London, Kyle Pitts. I think the offense gets a big boost. Now, do you think in any way, shape, or form we might be overestimating what he's going to do? Because he is coming off an Achilles tear. Like, let's not forget that. He's got $100 million guaranteed with one good Achilles. So what do you think? How excited should we be with Kirk Cousins on the Falcons?
I'll start us off here. I'm gonna say it now. I am ecstatic. I know he's not the best thing of all time, but somehow, some way, year after year, this guy is just, serviceable. He gets the job done. The weapons on the Falcons, we hope are good. We haven't really been able to see how good they are yet. This is like the first actual time we'll see that in a real system. Because they're all very young. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. We have the whole shebang. Plus whatever else they get through free agency and the draft. I am very, very confident that if you're a Kirk Cousins owner, you love this, right? I imagine this is probably they're gonna really try to probably push the offense's capability to the limit. Everybody that I just mentioned, as well as more, can catch the ball, so he's going to be throwing it plenty. The 4 years is a big upside for me. I love the longevity of the contract. I'm definitely very happy about this deal we got going on here.
It's hard not to be when Desmond Ridder is no longer the quarterback for the Falcons. But what do you feel over there, Joe, Mr. Kyle Pitts owner?
Yeah, I'm super excited because Kyle Pitts and Mr. London have been struggling. I mean, ever since Matt Ryan, we've had Mariota, Ritter, and then what? Didn't we have Heineke for a little bit?
Yeah, we had Heineke.
Not a real list of Hall of Famers right there. And we've seen the Falcons struggle without a consistent quarterback play. I think this is going to really open up the Falcons. I think Pickett and London obviously are going to benefit because they'll have someone that can actually throw them the ball. I think Bijan's going to benefit because he can also catch the ball, and it will open up the run game a lot more for the Falcons because teams are actually going to have to defend the pass now because they have a person that can pass the ball finally. So I really like this deal. I think Kirk's great. I think he obviously, excluding injury, should be pretty good those next 4 years. I think he will finally get some more playoff wins under his belt. And yeah, I would, if you need a quarterback in fantasy football, I would, as long as the price isn't outrageous, because Kirk is an older quarterback and you are in like a win now situation, I would be trading for Kirk if you could. He's a great quarterback on a good team, and I feel like he's going to be starting those 4 years excluding injuries. So I wouldn't trade up the house for him because obviously he's older. But if you can get him for a reasonable deal, grab him.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Usually you'll hear people say it's either you're on the fence of buy the injury dip or don't. In this case, with this offense, I will buy the injury dip. I'm not paying, like you said, I'm not shipping away the house for him, but at the same time, I think he's got a couple more years left, and he's decent. He's a good quarterback. I mean, it helps having probably the best wide receiver in the league to make those past couple years, but it's still something that's pretty good.
Yeah,
Uh,
keep trade cut has him equal to about either a late first in this draft or like a Debo Samuel, Jaden Reed. What do you feel about like giving up that for him, Matt?
I'd do that. I'd
Yeah,
do that in a
I think
heartbeat.
I would as well, Chris.
Yeah, especially Superflex.
Yeah, probably in a heartbeat. To be quite honest
Yeah,
with you,
yeah,
like
so
100%.
yeah, so if you can get Kirk for a late first, grab it.
Yeah, yeah. We see hit rates of these guys late first, seconds. I mean, the 101 is not a guarantee that to hit. Like, let's not forget that these guys have never stepped foot on an NFL field, except maybe if they practice or
I
at the
think,
combine and stuff.
yeah,
But
I think Kenny Pickett was a 101 in one of our rookie drafts one year. So
he was,
just
yeah.
just a show.
So yeah. All right, so there's not too much else at quarterback, but we'll run through these because there are a couple things to say here. Let's start with Gardner Minshew. He signed a 2-year, $25 million deal to the Raiders, $15 million guaranteed to compete with Aiden O'Connell. They did release Jimmy G. That saved them about $11 million towards the cap. So I think he's going to be the starter. That's my gut reaction. I don't think they saw enough from Aiden O'Connell as a later draft pick to make this someone else his job. So Gardner, he's been fun. He's not excellent, but last year he showed he still has something left in the tank. So are you guys on Aiden O'Connell or Minshew Mania?
Uh, I I kind of hate to say Minshew, even though I kind of agree with you. Um, my hope is that this is one of those scenarios where maybe they start out with Minshew while Aiden O'Connell kind of sits behind, learns a little, maybe I don't know. I don't know what the chemistry was like between O'Connell and Garoppolo, but I don't think it was there clearly. Um, so my hope is that this guy is like 4 or 5 games. Gardner's in there doing his thing. If, as Joe said before, with with Russell Wilson, sorry, it popped in my head or whatever. If he's winning games, right, they're not going to just take him out for whatever reason. But if they're just doing whatever, I see him as a 5-game stretch, and then O'Connell goes back in.
Yeah, it could be. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I'm on the Minshew side. We saw Aiden O'Connell a little bit last year. He was serviceable, but I don't think he showed anything spectacular. I have a feeling that the Raiders are going to draft a quarterback this year and have them sit behind Minshew and kind of just until they're ready to start. I could see them taking like a late pick on like Penix or JJ if he falls, or Bo Nix if he falls. So I definitely think Minshew will be the starter on day one. And going back to another dynasty perspective, if you need a quarterback, Minshew isn't going to be. They're not going to be asking a lot for Minshew because again, it's up in the air who might be the starter. So he keep trade cut has him equal to the first pick in the third round, or Khalil Shakir or Austin Eckler. Any of those, I think I'd be happy to give for Gardner Minshew if I needed a second quarterback for this year's run. Austin Eckler's old. A third round pick is almost nothing. Shakir, I might want to hold on to. I'm a Shakir
That's what I
believer,
was going to say. Yeah,
but
I was going to say Shakir is the line for me.
yeah, but any of those other ones, I'd be happy to move for a second quarterback, especially probably Minshew's going to be starting. So
Yeah, that I was thinking the third. And I was thinking Penix would be one of their targets because he's not going to cost as much and has arm talent. It's just kind of
yeah,
a
he's
little
probably
bit.
going to be like a day 2, 3 pick.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so they can build around, build the line or get some other guys there too. So, all right. So next guy here is Sam Darnold. He's back, baby, as a starting quarterback, maybe. 1 year, $10 million deal to the Vikings. So sorry, Vikings fans, you went from Kirk Cousins and you got Darnold. Basically about $9 million guaranteed. So basically, prove it deal. You got to downgrade Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, the whole offense. Um, how much we'll kind of get into that and have to discuss it as they go through the draft and everything. But I mean, gut reactions doesn't feel good. What do you think about Mr. Darnold
sell
and the number one wide receiver in the league?
sell if anyone believes that Darnold will be the Vikings franchise quarterback. I'd rather have Nick Mullins, honestly, starting. So
Man.
I think the Vikings, if they don't trade for a quarterback before the draft, I see them drafting a quarterback and maybe they'll have Sam start so the quarterback can kind of see. I could see them also being almost like I put them in the same exact boat as the Raiders. I could see them waiting and taking like a McCarthy or a Bo Nix or a Penix late pick and just having them sit behind Darnold and develop into that franchise quarterback.
Yeah, it's gonna be things are gonna move. In fantasy drafts, the NFL draft is going to be. They have enough ammunition now, I think, to make a move to move up in the draft. I don't know how far or if they have a specific target, but we'll kind of wait and see for that one. So we got
My
Jacob.
oh,
What do you think,
I,
Chris?
I didn't get to go. You just
Sorry,
skipped
I
me.
apologize.
No,
About Sam Darnold?
yeah, I'm gonna keep mine really short and sweet because Joe kind of covered it. He's not that guy. I actually predict they're gonna trade Justin Jefferson. I predict they're going to go into a bit of a rebuild-esque area. I don't think they want to bother trying and doing that right now around Justin Jefferson without getting all they can from him. They can get God knows what for him. So I predict that will be a centerpiece upon a rebuild.
Yeah, that's another storyline that has been getting a little bit more headway and motion there. Possible Justin Jefferson trades. I've seen some crazy ones, which we're not going to get into because they're just never going to happen. But
For Joe Burrow,
Pete,
straight up.
yeah, like people, like let's be better. They're not making these crazy moves. You're not getting Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson on the same team. So just stop it. All right, it's not going to
Never
happen.
know.
I heard there was a trade that they were talking, and the Vikings said that they would trade Justin Jefferson to the Bengals if they give the Vikings Joe Burrow. I heard
Which they
that
ain't
was the
gonna do.
conversation.
Yeah,
No,
which they ain't
never.
gonna do.
That'd be stupid.
So yeah, let's be better, people. All right, can we just do that little PSA? Be better. All right, next one here might make a difference. Might make some motion here. Jacoby Brissett signed a 1-year, $8 million deal to the Patriots. They're probably going to draft someone unless they move back, and then Brissett would be the guy under center at the beginning, and then who knows? We'll see. I see you shaking your head over there, Joe. What do
They're
you got to
they're
say?
drafting. They're drafting. I feel like they're drafting Jaden Daniels, or Drake May, whichever one's there, and they're moving forward.
Well, it's
Yeah.
hard to move back.
That's
True.
They're
true.
kind of at the back.
I definitely agree. This is definitely a if he starts at all, it's the first game, maybe two, and that's it, just to get a rookie acclimated with something if they feel like they need that. But besides that, this is definitely gonna draft a rookie. This guy's the backup. Nothing else to it.
Yeah, which he's a serviceable quarterback for an NFL franchise. So for fantasy, it's not really been great. And he had that one season with the Browns. And Amari Cooper did okay, but other than that, it's been not so fun. So I kind of exactly I see them drafting a quarterback, and he's just going to be an insurance to have someone to roster and play quarterback for when the other quarterback might still be acclimating to the NFL. All right. Jameis Winston, former quarterback, backup quarterback on the New Orleans Saints. signed a 1 year, $4 million guaranteed deal to the Browns to back up Mr. Deshaun Watson. I know some people were thinking it was going to be someone else, Mr. Flacco, Mr. Comeback Man of the Year, but nope, not going to happen. Jameis, I think, he's so much fun for fantasy because he does not care about throwing the deep ball. He doesn't care about throwing a double, triple, quadruple coverage. Doesn't matter. He's chucking the ball to his playmaker, and he's just going to get it done. Throw a lot of interceptions, which is good for fantasy because you want them to have to throw. But I don't think there's really much to say here unless you guys disagree. He's a backup, always going to be a backup, and that's it.
He's a backup, but he's someone I would be holding on if I had him. I wouldn't be buying him, but if I had him, I'd be holding him. We've seen Deshaun get injured plenty of times in the past, and we've also seen
suck.
And
Yeah,
we've
he's also
seen,
not good.
all right, well that's perspective, but we've also seen him, not perform well. Which, if that was to happen, I could easily see Jameson getting a shot down the line. So I'd be holding on him.
Yeah, I think I would do too. It's just you're not going to actively go after him unless you could pay absolutely nothing. He's a throw-in, maybe that doesn't move the needle either way. But anything to say, Chris, other than Deshaun Watson's not good? I think we're both in agreement on that.
I agree. He's definitely he's the backup. He's the guy. I would hold him. I wouldn't release him if you have the room on the space and roster. I would just keep him. There's no reason not to. That there's a high chance Deshaun gets injured again. I feel like he has the history for it.
Yes. All right. Last little bit of news here for quarterbacks, and then we'll dive into running backs because, man, is there a lot to talk about. Sam Howell was traded by the Washington Commanders to the Seattle Seahawks. The trade itself was Howell, a 4th and a 6th, for a 3rd and a 5th rounder. So kind of pennies, not too much draft capital moving around. Going to sit behind Geno, but, I know we kind of call him, or Warren started it, and we kind of agreed, Fat Baker Mayfield, but he was okay. He kind of didn't really show too much, but for fantasy, it was all right. He was just
fantasy was great.
Yeah, for a little bit, he had a stretch, but other than that, it wasn't great for a while. It was kind of like flash in the pan. It was just they kept adding some gasoline to the pan.
He didn't finish strong, but the middle of the season, it was almost like it was a pretty consistent. You could almost rely on him getting 20 points with a couple outliers here and there.
Yeah, and it was terrible for everyone on that team except for him because he could not throw the ball to hit the broadside of a barn.
He would throw it to the wide receiver 3 for some reason every time.
Yeah.
It hurt my soul.
I gotta be honest with you. Yeah, he's the type of guy that definitely needed a little more attention on that Washington offense. He needed to sit behind someone a little more comparable to learn. The flashes are there. He's going to be the guy. Hopefully that's what happens with Geno here. And he kind of comes into a role at some point, either in the Seahawks or somewhere else. But I don't see him like taking the starting job from Geno this year. I know currently they said it's up in the air. I don't think that's going to happen personally, but I can
Geno's the starter. Geno's the starter. Yeah. There's no way you're
well, hold on now. Hold on.
Sam
it is
Howell.
The NFL.
I know it's the NFL.
I raise you, it's the NFL.
I like this move for the Seahawks because, I mean, Sam Howell's 23. He played a single game in 2022, so I don't even count that. So considering last year, I consider last year pretty much his rookie season because that's the first season that he actually played football, minus the one game in 2022. And he didn't look terrible. He didn't look terrible. He looked better than other quarterbacks we've seen in the NFL. So for that being your rookie season, for that being like consider quote unquote his rookie season, I think he did pretty good, and I like him over there. If I had him, I'd hold him. I don't necessarily think I'd buy him unless the price is dirt cheap. I don't think I don't even know what I would really give up for him. What is Keep Trade Cut has him for a third rounder, first pick in the 3rd round, or like Chuba Hubbard or Hopkins. I think I'd be fine with any of those because he could have a shot down the line if Gino starts not playing well or gets injured, and we've seen him. He can sling the ball, even though it's to people you might not want him to sling the ball to. He does sling the ball, and he does put up some decent fantasy value. So
That tight end 3 on the Seahawks is going to get so much work if he's
Oh.
the starter. So much work.
kiss your Metcalf and
Lock it.
your Jackson Smith and Jigba stocks goodbye, because he's throwing it to
Yeah.
the fullback every time.
I got JSN right here, and he just
Oh yeah,
killed
I
that
have
value of that
DK. I
card.
even got his helmet.
Yeah, man, it
And
sucks.
they're now both irrelevant. Sorry.
Yes.
Bucks.
Yeah. Hopefully we're wrong. Stay healthy, Gino. Stay healthy, please.
Yeah, please. I have him in our dynasty league. I beg of you,
Yeah.
stay healthy and be good.
All right. So that's it for quarterbacks.
Wait, I'd like to
Decent
make
amount
one
to
thing.
talk about. Yeah,
Hold
go
on.
ahead.
One in here. Jimmy G, the released guy, the guy, he's actually on the team now. He signed a 1-year deal to the Rams. He's now the backup for Matt Stafford. That's it.
That
Pulling out.
doesn't.
All right, we're done.
Yeah, doesn't.
I just thought
doesn't
it
matter.
was funny. I just thought it was really,
Sell.
really
Cut.
funny.
Just drop.
Sorry.
Just
Just
hate
drop. Oh
just drop.
no.
He's not gonna do anything. Drop him. The days of Jimmy G are gone. That's it.
Sorry. I just thought it was funny. I just looked it up.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That happened, I think, yesterday or something.
Yeah,
but-
it was a day ago.
All right, let's dive into the fun stuff now. Running backs. We had some moves. People are going different places. 5 of the 7 first round running backs drafted last year are now on different teams.
I don't like it.
That is crazy to me. But being Giants fans, we had to start with this one. Mr. Saquon Barkley. I would like to apologize to Saquon Barkley on behalf of the Giants because we wasted your talent and chose Daniel Jones over you.
Dude.
I'm apologizing. We backed him into
Saquon
a
was
corner.
great. Saquon was great. We should have paid him. The Giants, we're not the Giants front office. We didn't pay him. So he needs to get his money somewhere else. But the fact that he went to a division rival is such a low ball move that I wish him nothing but the worst.
I wish he chose somewhere else to go, but
Anywhere else.
yeah.
Well,
maybe not the Cowboys.
Yeah, I was gonna say the
prefer it.
Cowboys and
Anywhere else.
the Commanders were in the running, but
I
yeah, I
would
wish
go
he
with
went
the
somewhere
Commanders.
else, but I don't know. I guess I might be alone in thinking this, and I'll probably get Giant fan hate after this, but Saquon didn't deserve what the Giants front office put him through, and basically he kind of gave us what they deserved. Unfortunately, it's gonna suck seeing him in yellow. Not yellow. What? Colorblind.
You good?
Green next year. But yeah, 3 years, $38 million, $26 million guaranteed to the Philadelphia Eagles. I think for him, that is a huge upgrade because he's on an offense. I don't care about Jalen Hurts vulturing goal line touchdowns because Saquon is good at football. He's
gonna
still
make
that guy.
74-yard run to the goal line, and then he's gonna go, "Can I get this one in?" And Jalen's gonna go, "Tush push."
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't care about it as much. Do you guys worry about that too much? I mean, I don't think he's going to hit his rookie ceiling because that was just insane. He had like 90 catches and 2,000 total yards and a bunch of touchdowns, but I don't think he's done being a top 12 running back. I would probably put him at 7 or 8 right now if I had to draft today. I mean, what do you guys think about Saquon other than the emotional aspect of losing Saquon?
I think it's a great spot for him in terms of fantasy. I mean, I wouldn't be too worried about the tush push, especially they don't have Kelsey anymore, so who knows if it's going to be that effective anymore. But yeah, no, I like the Eagles have a pretty good line, so I would be very happy with Saquon over there, especially anywhere is better than being on the Giants. So
Yes, agreed. We were talking in our chat the other day about which team is going to be in the bottom of the barrel, and the Giants were an astounding favorite to land there. So
yeah, I'm holding Saquon. I'm not buying because the price right now is probably way more than I'd be willing to give up. But
Yeah. What about you, Chris?
So I gotta be honest. I can't. I'm trying to find the stat right now, and I can't find it. But I'll put it in layman's terms. I think he might have similar numbers to his rookie year, in terms of fantasy production. I was looking it up a little bit. The Giants have had a very big same problem for years, and that is a horrible line. Like, it's been statistically the worst, like one of the worst lines in the NFL for a while now. I mean, we've gotten better to an extent, but it's still not great. I remember looking this up before. I'm gonna do my best to try and like put it in layman's terms, but Saquon is going from, in 2022 it was like the 23rd best like line, and then in 2023 it was like the 21st best, to the Eagles had the second best in 2022 and like the first best in 2023. This guy is going to explode, right? This entire time, the offense ran through Saquon Barkley on the Giants, and he would try his hardest. It would like break away from tackles every now and then, but a lot of times when he ran, he would just get knocked down immediately. Because what can he do with a line that won't protect for him? Now that it's actually there, who knows what he's at? Like, this is uncharted territory, to be quite honest.
We're about to find out.
Yeah, we're about to find out exactly what he actually is. If he's just, that guy from rookie season, or if there's actually a higher ceiling that we haven't seen yet. Because this team is now, like, we know he can catch the ball, so he can get open there. We know he is a good runner. We're about to find out how good of a runner he actually is.
Yeah, we're gonna go in your league and find out if a Giants fan has Saquon on their team and just go trade him whatever to get him, because I think he's gonna have a wonderful, wonderful season behind that O-line. But let's move on here before we make this a hour-long episode of just on our thoughts about Saquon, which we could easily do.
100%.
DeAndre Swift is moving from that same Eagles team to the Bears. 3-year, $24 million, $15 million guaranteed, going to a roster that will likely have Caleb Williams on it. They will also have Khalil Herbert and Roshan Johnson to share the backfield with. So, big money deal for a running back who has shown flashes. Last year, he was better than what I think we all thought he was going to be. Yes, now is that DeAndre Swift, or is that always running through giant gaping holes that your offensive line open for you, or what? But we're going to find out. I think the Bears are a good landing spot for him. His value to me didn't really change. It stayed kind of status quo from last year to this year, except that maybe he gets a slight bump because it's an extension, a long-term deal. But Chris, what do you think about DeAndre Swift's landing spot with the Bears?
I don't think his value changed too much. I would actually say before literally today, I was a little worried about DeAndre Swift because of the Justin Fields run factor. That definitely takes away. Caleb Williams does not run nearly as much as Justin Fields, which helps that argument a lot. I feel like the money is there, the longevity of the contract is there. You know that he's going to be the RB1, and they're going to use him a decent amount. This is definitely going to be a test. I wouldn't worry about it too much. He'll probably still be very effective within the run game. I know the Bears line isn't exactly fantastic, but I believe this is definitely a similar, as you said, Matt, a very similar situation in terms of value. Didn't really go down or up too much, in my personal opinion. What about you, Joe? What do you think?
yeah, I think it stays right around the same. I actually like him on the Bears more. I think he's gonna have a better shot at a lot of things. So, if I had Swift, I don't think I'd be buying, because I think the price it didn't lower enough to where you'd get him for like a discount or anything. But you'd probably be right where I'd just be holding if you had him, or if you really need a running back, he's a good one to get because he does have that 3-year deal. But there's a couple other guys I'd rather more than Swift. But yeah, holding on him. I like him on the Bears.
Yeah, it seems like when we get to redraft, he seems like he's going to be one of those dead zone running back guys that you can target. If you go a little bit zero RB, he'd be your target. So I think it's a good one. Derrick Henry, moving on to him. He signed a 2-year, $16 million deal with $9 million guaranteed to, you guessed it, we've all been talking about it for months now. The Baltimore Ravens
They're so
on that
good.
roster. Yeah, so I know this probably changes the thoughts about J.K. Dobbins coming back from injury and having a resurgence. I know everyone was excited. You know, all of us were excited for him last season before he unfortunately went down to injury. Um, and then who was he? Mitchell, right?
Keaton Mitchell.
Forget-
Yeah.
Keaton Mitchell, yeah. He also went down to injury, so he's there. But Gus Bus moved on. So we'll just mention that quick here because then we'll move back to Derrick Henry. But Gus Bus signed a 2-year, $6.5 million deal to the Chargers. Back to Derrick Henry because that's more important. Where do you guys
Just a
view
bit.
Derrick Henry next year? Because he was good last year, not what we were used to, but on this offense, man, it's hard not to be excited, like overly excited. So, what do you guys think? Derrick Henry, Baltimore Ravens.
Let's see if he stays healthy. The Ravens are where running backs go to die. They all get hurt. They go through the whole depth chart. It's like the Giants. The Giants are where older players go to retire. We had Golden Tate, we had Kenny Galladay, now we had Darren Waller. It's where good players go to ruin their careers and retire. And
I'm
the
pretty sure Kenny G retired before he signed with the Giants,
oh,
but that's just me.
I feel like the same with Darren Waller, but then so it's the same thing with the Ravens with running backs. I can't remember a season where a Ravens running backs played the entire season without getting hurt. Granted, running backs are more prone to getting injuries, but you don't normally run through the entire roster of your running backs all with different injuries, which happened this past year and I feel like a couple other years before. So if he stays healthy, I like the landing spot for him a lot. I feel like Keaton Mitchell is going to be his main backup. Maybe mix in a couple of the other guys. I do think Dobbins is not going to be on the Ravens next year, and I'm hoping that he signs somewhere else. We all saw he was doing rehab with Aaron Rodgers. They were on some podcast together. You saw Dobbins in the background just rehabbing. So I hope he's 100%, and I hope he gets another chance because the limited time we did see Dobbins, he looked really good. If he could stay healthy, he'd be a great asset. So,
If he's hanging out with Aaron Rodgers, we might have some problems.
but back to Derrick Henry. Not buying. He is an older running back, and he's towards the end of his shelf life. I'd actually be selling on Henry if I had him because he is an older running back. I think he is going to have a good season or two with the Ravens, but it, this is like the height of his value. If you don't sell him now and he doesn't have a good season or gets hurt, you are now stuck with an old hurt running back or an old crappy running back. So if I had Derrick Henry on my dynasty team, I'd be shopping him around right now for rookie picks in this class if you can get them, or future picks or younger players to build up a dynasty, and that's why we call it dynasty football.
If I'm contending, I'm going out. I'm buying Derrick Henry. But if
100%.
I have, yeah, that's the only
You're
area.
gonna
I mean,
buy him,
any
huh?
runner. If I'm contending, if I am contending,
His
I think
price is
he
an
has
early
enough.
second. As they have Keep Trade Cut has him for either Amari Cooper, Marquise Brown, or pick 2.3.
Listen,
I'd
I,
do
I
that.
got to be
I would
honest,
do that.
right? Yeah, I think
I would do all this.
if I am going for it, and I'm sitting there, I'm looking at my team, and I'm looking at the holes that I have, right? And if it's just I need more depth to throw in a flex, I I don't care who's in there. If I'm winning my league this year, right? I understand that I'm probably making sacrifices for the next like year or two after the fact. That's fine. I'm winning the league. There's always cycles to this sort of thing, right? You're going to win some and then you lose for a little bit as you rebuild from the pieces that you lose. I personally, I like the deal. I like the line that he's going to play behind. Am I worried about the stigma of the Ravens injury? A little bit, yeah. Maybe you can use that to your advantage as you're negotiating the deal with getting Derrick Henry on your team. But I completely agree. If you are looking to rebuild or you're not in a position to contend, you are selling this guy. But if you're sitting there and you're looking at your team and you're going, man, I have a shot this, like a real shot, you are absolutely buying Derrick Henry and you're eating the fact that he is old and this is probably going to be the last time that he's going to be the king.
I mean, if you have one running back and you desperately need a running back, sure, trade for Henry or Aaron Jones or Eckler or any of these old running backs that just got traded. That we don't know how long they'll be there. But personally, I'd rather keep the pick and save for a different year. I don't think winning 1 year's worth dismantling your team.
See, I don't think if you're trading a second, I don't think
It's
that's
an early
dismantling.
second though in a very high
Yeah,
value class.
well, yeah, but a second also.
I'm on the.
It's one player. It's one player. Right, you're trading a 1-for-1 in that scenario. Yeah, you're going to miss out on this possible rookie. Yeah, of course, sure, but it's not going to completely destroy your team in that sense. Depending on, I mean, you could have some other stuff. Who knows what you have in your bank of draft picks and young players, right? Who knows, right?
Yeah, the value of the player I'm going to get in the second round when I'm trying to go for it, I think I'd rather have Derrick Henry and the chance of getting a championship this season than a guy that may or may not come out. But that's why we have these discussions, because we disagree, and it's up to you, being the listener, to figure out what works best for you. We can only just talk about it so much.
There's just so many. So, like, to put it in perspective, so they have Derrick Henry as an early second, and they have Aaron Jones and Austin Eckler as late seconds. I'd much rather spend a late.
I would rather have. Yeah, no, actually, I think I would. Yeah.
They have Austin Eckler for a 2.12. That's almost, you're almost in the third round at that point. So
yeah, but much worse offense.
Yeah,
much worse offense. More question marks to me. Derrick Henry gets dropped in, and he has to just run into the end zone like crazy. That's where I see.
Lamar Jackson's also there, who also runs. So don't forget
that. Not as much near the goal line though. Not as much near the goal line. No. Derrick Henry, I think, will be perfectly fine this year, and will justify.
I'm not saying he's not going to be fine. I'm just saying you can get some of these other running backs for much cheaper, and I'd much rather make that. I'm a selling Henry. I wouldn't hold him beyond this year. If especially if you have two other running backs, I'd gladly move him for an early second or a late first.
No problem. That's why we have these conversations. All right, next guy here we're gonna group two guys together because wouldn't happen without the other. First off, Josh Jacobs signs a 4-year, $48 million deal to the Packers, but only $12.5 million guaranteed. After that move, we were all like, "Oh, great! This is gonna suck." Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones. Well, they cut Aaron Jones, so he's no longer there. He signed a 1-year, $7 million deal with the Minnesota Vikings. So that seemed kind of like a spite signing. But hey, I'm all for it. That's a lot of fun. He woke up that morning, was like, "Oh, let's see who needs a running back in this division. Sign me up." Well, let's move back to Josh Jacobs here. Seems to be it's not a lot of money guaranteed, which that worries me. I know it's 4 years and up to $48 million. The Packers are pretty good. That offense should sustain his value pretty good. But are you guys worried about Josh Jacobs, or are you kind of just let's go, let's do it? Kind of opposite of what you're thinking of Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I kind of have. I wouldn't say the word worry is the word I would use. I'm cautious, in a sense. I think Josh Jacobs is very serviceable, and I feel like this contract is very reminiscent of the season he had, not this past year, but the year before, where he had this insane season. Everything was going great. I feel like he can still hit that ceiling just fine. I feel like that's where the money comes into play, because he didn't do that this past season again, which is why the guaranteed money is so low. But I got to be honest, I'm not too worried about his production. I feel like he will be just fine. I feel like he will be able to produce in a serviceable manner. I'll go with like top 10, to be quite honest with you, at the very least, in terms of where he's in a place at the end of this upcoming season, personally. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I like Josh Jacobs a lot, and he looked good he's looked better in past years, but Josh Jacobs was a very serviceable running back, and we've seen other running backs on the such as Aaron Jones on the Packers be good. I think Josh Jacobs is just going to do the same thing as Aaron Jones was doing and look good. He's 26, so it's just I feel like at the tip of the running back decline age. So I definitely think he has at least those 4 more years left, barring injury. So Josh Jacobs is someone I would love to, definitely not selling. I would hold him or buy him if you need a running back for the next couple of years. I think he's going to be good.
Rank these three guys for 2024 season: Derrick Henry,
boy.
Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones.
Just for 2024.
You want to go first, Chris?
Just 2024. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm gonna go with Jacobs, Henry, Jones.
I'm
Same
gonna
for you, Joe.
go. Jacobs is my first, and it's Henry and Jones are they go back and forth because if you look at the Vikings, if we look at Dalvin Cook, he was feasting, and then they went to what was the backup they just recently cut? Madison. He was not feasting. So I feel like Aaron Jones will be way better than Madison was, and I'm kind of excited for that. And I think the I think Derrick Henry's going to be good on the Ravens too, but I just with the Lamar rushing capabilities, it does scare me a little bit, and we don't know who's going to be over starting in the Vikings, so that could be a little bit better for Jones. It's a kind of a mix-up for me for Henry Jones for second, but Jacobs is number one. I'm going to switch it up. I'll go Jones second. I'll put Henry three. Not and being third is not bad on this list because I think all three are going to perform in 2024. That's not the question, but just ranking them in which ones I think will perform the best in 24. That's where I have them. What about you, Matt?
I'm Henry, Jacobs, Jones. Henry and Jacobs are pretty close, but I just like the Ravens offense more. I think he's going to have more scoring opportunities
I,
than
I
Jacobs. That's the only. It's really just touchdowns for me.
I'd like to pose this though. I'd like to pose this. I don't have him in front of me, but I'd be willing to bet that the stats towards Josh Jacobs catching the ball is better than Derrick Henry.
Not by much, I don't think, because
You don't
Jacobs
think?
outside of that one season, I don't think he really caught the ball a lot. He wasn't really
That's fair.
used in that role. Derrick Henry's usually not used in that role because you
yeah.
don't need to. He just
Jacobs
plows through people.
Josh Jacobs was targeted 54 times and caught the ball 37 times in 2023. And let's look up
What about Henry?
and
Yeah.
Derrick Henry was in 2023 was targeted 36 times and caught the ball 28 times.
Oh, okay, so it's not that far.
So
Actually,
not too bad.
I take it back. I take it back.
Yeah, but now that could open the case to be Josh Jacobs this season because he could begin that role. You know, they released AJ Dillon, then re-signed him to a cheaper deal, but that could be well for him. That could bode well for his fantasy draft stock. You know, he could have that role that we've all kind of been waiting for him to have because it's a role I think he had in Alabama. We know he can do it. It's just he was never asked to. You know, Aaron Jones, he's an aging running back, signed a 1-year deal this year. You kind of just ride it out. You're not going to do anything for these. Anything else to add on him? I know we kind of talked about him, but anything else? Final thoughts? No? All right.
No.
Perfect. All right. So we got a couple more guys here. We'll go through them. Some of them matter, some of them probably not so much. Tony Pollard signed with the Titans. I don't know the guaranteed money yet, but it's a 23-year, $24 million deal. Joins Tajay Spears, who we were all pretty excited for this season.
I'm still excited for.
Agreed.
I think I'm leaning more on that side too. I wouldn't say he
when Zeke left Dallas, I'm like, oh, dude, Tony Pollard's gonna do pretty good. I traded him to you before Zeke left. I'm like, wow, I just got fleeced by Matt. He just got a great starting running back for the Cowboys, and then he did nothing.
Yeah, then I flipped him to Richie. So, haha, just on you, Rich.
You did flip him. Yeah, wolf.
So
yeah, it worked out.
If he couldn't do anything on Dallas, which I think he had ample opportunity to, I don't think it's going to be any better on the Titans. So I still am a Tajay Spears believer. I think he will eventually be starting to get out touched by him.
Spears just needs to not be in the third down role. That's what we need. It needs to be 50-50. And then I think Spears will take it over. What are your thoughts, Chris, here?
I'm high on Ty Spears. I hope he's the future of this run offense, even though I traded him at some point before this last season. I think that hopefully he gets the opportunity.
That was the three-way trade.
Yes, it was. I'm only sorry.
Joe's not happy about that one.
I did in fact destroy in that trade.
I just regret my choices.
I'm gonna end on this with Tony Pollard specifically. I remember there was a lot of talk and a lot of criticism over at Jerry Jones. Now I hate Jerry Jones for obvious reasons. However, he was very blatant when he was saying that Tony Pollard's the type of guy who can't handle taking the snaps for the whole game. That's why we have Zeke as their number one. And then the whole shift happened with Zeke going away, and then and you know what? It didn't look like he was wrong. So it pains me to say it. Credit where credit is due to a certain extent. It doesn't look like he can kind of survive a whole game in terms of endurance, perhaps. I'm not really sure what the deal is there, but I definitely, am a little worried on the Pollard train. But that's all I'll say for that.
Yeah, I mean, Jerry's kind of out. He was dealing with the injury at the beginning of the season. He got injured during the season. At the end of I think week 11 on, he was like the RB4 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he finished strong. It's just how much of that was just the offense, the Dallas offense cooking and opening up to scoring opportunities. Cooking. I don't think that's going to be the same with the Titans. I know we'll get into some of the deals they made in another episode because we're definitely not going to have time today. But I'm not overly excited about Tony Pollard. So I would be trying to sell him. I don't know what you're going to get for him. Probably a second, maybe like a mid-second, probably. I don't think you're going to get anything more than that. But moving on here to our New York Football Giants, we signed Devin Singletary to a 3-year, $16.5 million deal with $9.5 million guaranteed to replace Saquon Barkley. Woof. I like Devin Singletary, and I don't know if you remember, Joe, one of my bold predictions last year was Devin Singletary will finish higher than Dameon Pierce, and it happened. So I like Devin Singletary. I think he's a good NFL running back. For fantasy, not so much. What do you guys think about Devin Singletary? Is this like, I know you kind of mentioned it, Joe, this is where everyone goes to basically retire or die.
It's not that I don't like Devin Singletary, it's that I don't like the New York Giants, which is sad because I love the New York Giants, but they suck. I feel like that Waterboy meme. It's like, oh no, we suck again. It's me every single season with the moves that this organization's making.
Yeah.
So as much as I do like Devin Singletary, I think he might be a serviceable fantasy asset because number one, who's going to be throwing the ball? Number two, who's he's going to be throwing the ball to? Not a whole lot of options either department. So I think we might have to lean on the run game a little bit. So you might not be getting a ton of yards, but you might be getting those garbage yards and garbage touchdowns here and there. So he could have a pretty decent fantasy season, but I don't know. I'm just depressed.
I honestly, yeah, I hate this. I'm also looking at our list here, and I'm seeing who's come up next, and I'm looking at like who we might be able to get, and it's like definitely better than who we got right now. It's a lot. I'm not a huge fan of the move in terms of a Giants thing. Is he going to be serviceable for a fantasy perspective? Probably not. That line sucks. You don't know who's on the ball. Yeah, that's about it. That's about it on my end. I just depresses me.
I can see him voluming his way into like a flex position on your roster, but that's going to be it. It's not going to be pretty. You're going to put him in when you literally have no one and all of your running backs on your team went out to injury like they do every year.
I mean, he didn't even do that spectacular on the Texans, which are arguably a way better team than the Giants right now. So
correct. Yeah.
It's only downhill from here.
Yep. And we get to feel it all as Giants fans. So let's have some fun here. All right, Antonio Gibson, someone who, talking about bold predictions, mine did not come true last year. Antonio Gibson signs a 3-year, $11.25 million deal to the New England Patriots. I think that's good for him. I think he finally. The Patriots are going to be a new offense. You know, they got rid of Mac Jones. They now are going to draft a quarterback. They no longer have Bill Belichick. Like this is not going to be the New England Patriots that we've been used to the past couple of years since Tom Brady left. So I think this could be a good landing spot for Gibson to resurrect some sort of fantasy relevance. At least I hope so, because I have him in a couple spots. But I do think in the role he will have, he doesn't have to be the one, which he was thrust into a few times. He's not that kind of back. You know, Brian Robinson was that back last year. I didn't see that, but it happened. Now he doesn't have to. Less pressure. He just gets to go out and catch the football. So, are you guys excited about Gibson, or you don't care whatsoever?
I'm on the sense of not really caring too much. I'm a little surprised he got the 3-year deal. I'm gonna be fully honest with you. That kind of surprises me. But I'm not too high on him. My prediction is draft. They'll get the quarterback, and then maybe they'll get like a young running back to sit behind him. This could be another Isaiah Pacheco or Rashad White sort of deal where there's this young guy behind the veteran, and he's going to explode onto the scene after the fact. I don't anticipate Antonio Gibson outlasting some young guy who I imagine they'll draft at some point upcoming here.
Well, not even that. Don't they have what's his
They have
name?
Ramondre Stevenson. Still
Ramondre
there.
Stevenson.
Oh my God, you're right.
Last
They
year,
have
the deal.
Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, last year his deal.
Yeah,
That's so funny.
So-
it looks
that's what I'm
really
saying.
good last year.
You're right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for forgetting that.
Yeah,
How
and,
dare
and,
you.
and that's what I'm saying. It's sorry, Ramondre. Me and Joe like you, but Chris maybe doesn't.
I guess not. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hate you. Sorry, dude.
Yeah,
No, I
You're the-
didn't have him
you're
in my
the
teams.
Stevenson hater now. Richie
I
hated
guess
Puka,
so.
now you
Yeah,
hate Stevenson.
That's true. Yeah, the true duality of man.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't think there's really much else to say on Antonio Gibson. He's not really someone on my draft board. You're going to pick him up on waivers if he does something and then drop him when he doesn't. So, Austin Eckler signed a 2-year, $8.5 million deal to the Washington Commanders. That says a lot about what everyone thought about him last season. And he looked slow, which sucks because Austin Eckler is the man. I mean, he plays fantasy himself, so like he's just an all-around cool dude. But the NFL has not been kind to him, and this deal, I don't even want him on my fantasy team this year. I don't care. They have Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. We saw how much relevance Antonio Gibson had, and that's going to be the role Eckler's going into. They're going to be a slow, thumping offense, and they're just not going to utilize him. Do you guys disagree or agree?
No, I mean I agree. He's gonna have the same like receiving third back up to Brian Robinson role that Gibson had. So not really anything to write home for. If you didn't trade him in Dynasty already, you're kind of screwed. So you're gonna get pennies to what he was worth last year. So yeah.
I wouldn't even send a third in a dynasty league to
No,
get him.
I don't know what I would send. I'm looking at this.
I think Keep Trade Cut had him as a late third, so almost a 4th round pick.
No, I
For
think you
off-
said 212. 212.
212
Yeah, you had basically a 3rd round pick. I'm
Yeah,
not giving a 3rd round pick for him on that.
I'm looking at
yeah,
his, like,
2.12 is so
Gotcha.
early third for Eckler. I'd give an early third if I needed a running back. I mean, the shots of hitting a player in the third is not like super high, and we know Eckler used to be good. So if you desperately need a running back or a flex option, I could see it. But
The only thing I will say, I will be the devil's advocate here. Sure. We know that there was some issues earlier on in the season with like contract negotiations between Austin Eckler and the Chargers. Definitely some disgruntlement going on here. Now I don't know if that would play into a role here, but I will say, I personally have never seen a farther fall from grace in this dramatic of a fashion in a way than from what he did in 2022 to 2023. My guess is that I think he'll be better than what he did this year. I don't know by how much. He finishes the 28th RB on the list here that I'm looking at on Sleeper in our league. My gut is telling me I'll put him at like the 16th best this year. I don't know if that's going to stay in longevity, to be quite honest with you. But that's my guess here. I'm gonna hope. I'm gonna stay on the side of caution. I'm gonna hope that maybe there's light at the end of this tunnel. I'll be optimist.
Yeah, that light's
Optimist.
a flashlight with batters that are dying. But for me, I mean, we've seen running backs hit this age cliff and just nosedive. And once you start going, like there's no going back. It's very rare. Look at Todd Gurley. That's an excellent example. He was amazing, lighting things up every week, season, 2 seasons in a row. Boom, bang. You had him, you were set. And then he was out of the league and poof, done.
He's like just as old as Eckler too. I think.
That's kind of the way I see
not that old.
Eckler going, unfortunately. And I get it sucks because Eckler's the dude, man. But it's just
I mean, there's always outliers. I mean, look at Christian McCaffrey.
exactly.
It's true.
So,
It's true.
Derrick Henry, for that matter, too. I mean, he's had so much work in his career, even going back to high school, and it doesn't seem to really show too much slowing down. Last year he had dealt with a little bit of injury, but nothing crazy. But here, we're going to group these last two guys together. Zach Moss signed a 2-year, $8 million deal to the Bengals. That's $3 million guaranteed. And originally it was a release of Joe Mixon by the Bengals. But then we got an updated notification that, in fact, they were trading Joe Mixon to the Texans for a 7th-round pick. Now, when that happened, we were talking about it, and I was on the side that Joe Mixon is kind of done to a degree for fantasy. And I know you're getting your stuff ready for me. Then he signed a 3-year, $27 million extension with the Texans. So he's under contract for a while with them, $13 million guaranteed. Good offense on the Texans, I think we'd all say. Same thing with Zach Moss on a good offense. But Chase Brown is there. Captain America, I think, is still there. But we'll see. I think all three of us would take Mixon over Zach Moss. Am I correct in thinking that?
I would. Yeah. I think it's close. I gotta be honest with you. I think it's a lot closer than originally thought. But
it's
I
closer than it should be.
Agreed. 100% agreed. 100% agreed. But I think I would take Mixon over Zach Moss just barely. Just barely. At the current moment, at least.
I think I take Zach Moss over Joe Mixon.
Ooh.
Yeah, which does it taste bad coming out of your mouth?
Yeah, I love Joe Mixon. When we did our dynasty startup draft, I think he was my first pick.
I believe so. Yeah,
my first pick in our dynasty startup draft, way back when. But so I've been a Joe Mixon fan for a while. But he just there's also Damian. I know Damian Pierce wasn't much last year, but he's still there and he's still going to be contesting for touches. And I know you got Chase Brown over on the Bengals, but I think Zach Moss has a more clear-cut shot of being the lead back than Joe Mixon does. Does that make sense? Not saying that Joe Mixon won't be the lead back. I think he will, but I don't know. I just think I think Zach Moss is gonna have it on him because we've seen Stroud sling the ball and be amazing. Not that Joe Burrow can't sling the ball, but I hate to say I trust Stroud more than Burrow, I guess.
Ooh.
Hot take. But
interesting.
I like Zach Moss.
Yeah. All right, Chris, let me have it. Let's go. Let's get it over with.
Yeah, so we've actually been talking about this for a while, and Matt was saying that this is the beginning of the decline for Joe Mixon. I am on, in a sense, the other end. I don't think this is like going to be a new beginning. I gotta be honest with you. I think he peaked this past season. He finished like 5. I shouldn't say peaked. I think he's had better seasons before.
It
But
was
I meant like,
finally his year.
yeah, I meant like in recent history, he definitely he finished as RB5. Um, Definitely way over what he was projected. He's currently projected to go 14th off the board in terms of running backs. 14th running back off the board in drafts. That was something I looked up yesterday, actually, after the trade. That could change a lot between now and your actual drafts that happen. Uh, my prediction is going to be very. I don't think this is going to make him like. I don't think he's going to have a repeat of this past season, if that's what you're thinking. And honestly, going into the season, I hope you weren't expecting Joe Mixon to finish at 5 overall for running backs. What I'm going to say here is that he's on a very high octane offense. That usually means there's going to be a lot of opportunities for some, for some diverse play calling. Um, I don't anticipate like he's going to have all of the stardom on running because, as we said, CJ Stroud slings the ball. Perhaps he'll get more involved in the pass catching game, but I truthfully, I see him as a top 12, somewhere in there, 11, 12 finish on the running backs. I don't think he's going to be the all-star for your team. He'll have his weeks, but he'll be consistent, and that is honestly what you need. You need consistency. I would rather have a consistent running back and then a star in the wide receiver area than a star running back and then a random wide receiver somewhere else. I'm going for that consistency, and that's this guy right here.
Yeah, it's kind of we're not going to probably do our rankings until after the NFL draft. I feel like right now maybe he's in that conversation for like top 12 ish for me. But I feel like I'd be thinking more of a mid RB2 ish as far as comfort level of drafting him.
Mhm.
So, I mean, he's going to a good team. He went from a good team to what should be a good team again. So
Hopefully.
that should hopefully bode well for him. But I mean, I you guys know I love CJ Stroud, so it's hard not to get excited for anyone on that offense. But I just running backs are tough, man. NFL doesn't care about you at all, as we see
That's
every
true.
single year. They'll just find this young whippersnapper, throw him on the team, and say, go run there. And they do it. And they're successful. So once they hit certain ages and change teams, it's usually a tough thing to do. I think running back is a little bit easier than a wide receiver changing teams, but there is a slight decline usually. I mean, I want not every time. Some guys need a change of scenery and they go to a new
McCaffrey.
place and exactly. Well, McCaffrey's always been kind of the same. He's always
I
been
feel
good.
like
You
he
can't
got
stop him.
way better. Honestly, is that just me? I feel like he exploded when he went from the Panthers. I could be wrong, but it felt
I
like
feel like his
it felt
ceiling
like he
hits a
was
lot
the
higher.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's still it's a running back in the NFL. It's you don't want to invest too much in these guys. I don't think I'm going to be doing that this year. I'll probably go closer to the 0 RB role. I do like the hero RB. I mean, I was forced into more 0 RBs this year due to injuries.
Really?
But it worked well
He took an
for the
RB in
most
the
part.
first round.
I know, and then he got injured. That's what I'm
So that's
saying.
not. Yeah, but that's not.
It's hero. Well, I'm saying I was dealing with less running backs this year, looking
Not
for
by
these other
choice,
guys.
Yeah.
Not by
No,
choice.
of course not by choice. I would rather have Nick Chubb running through defenders, but sometimes you just can't have nice things, and that was me last year. So, anything else to add on either Mixon or Moss?
Oh yes, actually, nothing regarding Mixon. I would hold Pierce. I think there's a future there.
I don't think so.
Truthfully, let me explain. Right, I understand that this might be a little controversial, but we've seen it before with the David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs sort of deal. A system can work with 2 RBs. This could be it. I just wanted to put that out there. I didn't say that before. I just wanted to put that out there. I don't think all hope is lost with Dameon Pierce. I don't know if he will blossom into it, but his value's at an all-time low right now anyway. If that's the case, why bother selling him if you just hold on to him?
when Devin Singletary outperforms you, that's it. That's like rated weed killer. All right. I'm sorry, but I will not be drafting or holding or anything with Dameon Pierce. I will cut him out of spite because I don't care. I'm done. I'm done with Dameon Pierce. That whole conversation, everyone was like, he's gonna be an RB1. He's gonna be an RB1. It didn't work. It wasn't going to work. That team wasn't ready to win at that point with a running back. And yeah, he was cool for a season, but I don't know. That's just me. I could be wrong, but I'm done. Anything else to add, Mr. Capozzi, about any of these running backs?
No, I mean, we pretty much covered it. A lot of them. I think a lot of the moves are good for most of them. So I don't think there's any really bad moves outside of Singletary. So
And that's more for us.
Yeah, I know.
no, it's bad for him too.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
And Gibson was another bad one, but
So I'm okay with the Gibson one. It's not gonna do anything for fantasy for me, but it's not gonna move the needle. But I think for him, it's okay. It's decent for him. But all right, well, that was our free agent circus review for the running backs and the quarterbacks. We had a little bit of help with the Justin Fields trade, so that was fun to talk about. And we got some other things to talk about too. We got wide receivers and not really that many tight ends moved, but there was some to talk about. So we're going to be breaking those down on another show, so that way you don't have to sit here and listen to us talk for 3 hours straight in one episode, because we're all tired. Let's go. But all right, so we got a lot to do. We got a lot coming up. Draft is coming really, really quick. We got a lot to go through and narrate and figure out what's going to go on, all these teams. So stick with us. Stay tuned for other episodes that are dropping, and we'll see you all on the next show. So long.
Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Follow us on Twitter at the Heroes FF.